Welcome to the Freeman podcast. It's a great pleasure to have you on this series. So, the purpose of this podcast is to provide you with all the information you need to live the free and abundant life, which is your birthright. So, the topic of this particular episode is introduction. So, I'll be introducing myself and my journey and what you should expect from this podcast series. So, before we get started, let's roll the intro.
Grateful for giving that person. You just totally adhering to the same principles called faith, like I mentioned earlier. How do you solve this? What are your areas? Remember, traders, welcome to Profitable Trader Series. So, on this episode, new chapter, welcome to the Profitable Trader Series. So, on this
So let's get started. So my name is Chime Charles Chimobi, and Charles is a name that I gave myself, right? It's a name that I consciously chose for myself. Meanwhile, Chimobi was a native name given to me by my parents, and what Chimobi means is it simply means God knows my heart. And then what Charles means is free man. So Charles means free man, and that's the inspiration behind the name of this channel and the name of the journey that I am currently on. So my story of remembrance so far and my journey, my unfolding journey in this incarnation has been amazing. So I was born in Nigeria in 1998, May to be precise, and and I was born into a family of 15, so I was the 15th child. Crazy, right? So I was the 15th child, and I didn't actually grow up with all my siblings, right? So I kind of grew up alone because the age gap was too much. So and it gave me a whole lot of time for introspection, right? So growing up as the last child and growing up with a whole lot of people to look up to, you can't help but go within. If you're alone, you get to spend more time with yourself, and when you get to spend more time with yourself, that's actually when you grow the most. So I don't think it was actually a coincidence that I chose a scenario where I'll be born into a family where I'll be the last child and I'll get to grow up alone, having enough time for myself. So it wasn't actually fun because growing up I always wanted to play with other kids, go out and all that. But then I had a fairly strict parent, not fairly strict, very strict parents, and my father, he's a king. He's a king in Nigeria in a town called Abia. And then it was actually amazing, getting to learn from a leader directly, and a whole lot of the leadership qualities that I've gotten was inspired by him, and I got to learn a lot. So growing up was actually amazing, because like I said, it wasn't actually fun. As a kid you want to always go out, but then having a strict parent, you just have to conform. And then I had a lot of time to spend with myself, and I learned a lot from myself, from intuition. So intuition means inside tuition, which also means inner guidance, right? So the guidance that you get from within is your inner guidance, and then I was always guided from within. I remember wanting a whole lot of toys. My parents did fairly enough to get me some toys, but then every other, like, I loved cars so much, and I would always make my own cars by myself, right, out of cartons and calendars. And that was where my creative journey actually started, because I started to realize that there was a world that was within, not just the external world that we can see with our eyes and taste and touch and feel, but then there's actually another world within. and it's from this world within that is where everything that we can see outside comes from. And I had a first-hand experience of this because I would always imagine things and draw it, and then I'll make it, and other kids would actually get to play with what I've actually made. And other parents, like I remember a parent coming up to me when I was 8 and telling me to teach their kid how to do what I was doing. But then I didn't know how I was doing what I was doing, right? All I knew was that, I would just be by myself and get amazing ideas, and I would go ahead and construct those ideas, and it becomes reality, and we get to play around with those toys. And when I was 12 years old, I got an inspiration to make a car that ran only on water, and I actually wrote it down on my exercise book. I remember when I first went into college, I was in junior secondary one, and throughout the entire like throughout the entire first year in school, I was not present in class at all. Anytime that the teacher would be teaching, I would either be drawing model of cars on the back of my book, or looking for something to create or something like that. So that was pretty much my journey growing up. So my journey growing up was more of an introspective journey, and at some point, we got disconnected from that creative part when, the responsibility of having to go to school, get good grades, and all that. And I was I was smart, right? I was intelligent, just like every other kid is. But then I wasn't actually interested in studies, right? I wasn't interested because it was boring to me. So I would always be carried away, and I always ended up, I didn't have a bad result. I wasn't first in the class, but I was just around 10th to 20th out of 50 people in the classroom. So I was just in between. So and being in between actually gave me a lot of time to actually juggle and do a lot of things like playing. I love playing a lot, and I love staying by myself. People who know me would say that I spend an awful time alone, and I accept, because spending time alone is actually amazing, right? That's where you get to learn a lot. So when I was 4 years old, or younger, I used to have visions, right? I used to have visions of beings that my parents couldn't see, but I was the only one that could see it. It was just as though I was dreaming with my eyes open, right? I could see beings like, that looked like pandas, or white monkeys, and, really beautiful beings that would always, be there to keep me company. But then at some point I started to become afraid, because I didn't know how to place it. And since I was the only one experiencing it and no one else around me was experiencing it, it got scary for me. And they stopped, right? I stopped seeing those visions. So and continued my life journey. Then something amazing started to happen just after I completed my college, right? So after I completed my college, my parents wanted me to become a medical doctor, but then I didn't want to become a medical doctor, right? Because if you're an African or if you're Nigerian, it's either you're a doctor, a lawyer, or a failure, right? So if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, then you're definitely a failure. And no one wants to be a failure, so we always want to please our parents. But I would say I was stubborn, and that's a very good thing, because I was stubborn enough to actually not go for something that I didn't really want for myself. And I took a lot of examinations to get into medical school, but I never read for any examination. My parents thought I read, but then I never read for any examinations. I still passed fairly, but I didn't pass enough to get an admission, but I still passed. And I wrote examinations for like 4 times to get into the university. And finally, I just said, well, like, what's the use of writing the examination? Let me just rebel, right? Let me just, forget about it and whatever my parents do, whatever my siblings do, I don't actually care. All I care about was my truth, and there was something that was pulling me from within to actually um, go for becoming an investor, right? There was this drive in me to actually um, create wealth and to teach people how to create wealth. So in 2019, I joined iMarket Live, right? So that was where my personal growth journey started consciously, because I got to meet an amazing mentor that has actually changed a lot about my perspective, and his name is Bob Proctor, right? And I came across his information and I started studying his information, and I was also learning how to trade and invest. And then I learned with IM Academy for a couple of months, and then I left IM Academy and I started learning on my own through introspection as well. So I could actually learn how to invest from my dreams. I would have dreams, and then I would wake up and I would start writing books about my strategy from what I've learned from my dream states. Most times it comes when I'm just quiet and I'll just get inspiration to write this, do this, and that was really how my education when it comes to investing happened. So I didn't get everything that I know about investing. Wasn't something that I learned outside, although I got a fair bit of knowledge from the outside world, but then every 90% of what I know came from within, both from my experience and from my intuition. So my spiritual journey actually started when I got to connect with my physical spiritual teachers, and one of them was Wayne Dyer, and one of them is Master Sri Akashna, and then there are a few as well, so that I can mention their names, like Gary Zukov and a lot of people. So I started to follow a lot of amazing people, and that is how I got to expand more on my spiritual journey. And then I started to remember a whole lot of things. My remembrance journey was amazing. I started to remember that I am not just this physical body. This physical body is just a vehicle for me to have this experience. And realizing that, knowing that I'm not just this physical body, that I am an eternal spirit of God, right? And that truth propelled me to go beyond the narrative of everyone that was around me, the narrative that was holding everyone back from actually doing something different for themselves. So realizing that I was this infinite being gave me the freedom to actually know that I can be, do, or have anything at all. And knowing that I can be, do, or have anything at all was actually everything for me, because it's something that is priceless. That confidence that comes from knowing who you really are is actually priceless, and that's what ignited my journey towards sharing my truth. Because I said, how many kids around me, how many of my friends actually know who they really are? How many people from my country know who they really are? Looking at the entire world, right? How many people on earth know who they really are? And if we start to recognize our inner being, if we start to know who we really are before we came into this physical incarnation, then all the suffering, all the wars, all the every single experience that we don't like happening around us will start to dissolve once we start to go inner and find our inner truth, right? So that inspired me to become a teacher, but then I don't see myself as a teacher. I see myself as a student, because I'm always a student, right? And by being a student, I'm always learning, and by learning every time I can teach what I have learned, right? And the best way to learn is from your own experience, both in this life and in other lifetimes. So, and this brings me to another part of my remembrance, which was not just remembering who I am, but remembering other existences that I've had, right? Most of us think that okay, we are born and then we die and that's it. But then actually this is not the only life that we are living, right? We are living parallel lives at the same time. There are multiple versions of you living multiple versions of existences, or you can call it parallel universes, right? It's actually real. It is not science fiction. Parallel realities are actually real because time doesn't actually exist fundamentally because everything is happening now. So it's not like saying, oh, I remembered my past life. It was more like remembering my parallel lives, right? Remembering my parallel existences. So remembering this led me to be able to tap into that knowledge of my other selves, which is still me, right? So I got to get a whole lot of information that I haven't yet learned in this particular lifetime. So by getting all the knowledge from parallel lives, I was able to know a lot and experience a lot spiritually about my truth and experience the real power that we have as humans. And that's what actually inspired me to start this Freeman podcast. And most importantly, it inspired me to start the Freeman Institute, which is a journey that is just getting started. And I am grateful for every single person that will be impacted through this journey. So that's a little bit, a summary of my introduction, about myself and my journey so far. And it's a journey that is really just beginning, right? Because, the more you learn that you haven't learned anything, that you still have more to learn, right? So it's an amazing journey. And what I really like to tell anyone that is watching this video now is you can, right? You are so powerful that every single thing that you have in your life right now, you're the creator of it. You're the one that put it into your life, right? And you might say, no, I'm not the one that did it, it is this or that. But then if you start to look, if you start to scrutinize your imagination, right, you start to see that all the mental images that you've been having are actually manifesting in this real life, and you start to see how you've been subconsciously creating your life experience. And this will actually lead you towards more introspection to see how you've been creating your experience. So you are the creator of your life and you are not the victim at all. You are the creator. And when you take your power as the creator, when you say, yes, I'm the creator of my life experience, then you are using the God power within you, the power that God has given to you, because we are created in the image and likeness of God, right? So our inner being, our spirit, which is who we really are, that is God within us. And when we start to go within, to tap into that creative power within us, then we can express a lot of things. We can do things, we can create things that people can use. We can, stretch beyond the norms of society. We can understand that everything that we can see around us was created by people just like us, right? And then that I can create my own things that other people can use. And when you start to realize that you're actually the creator, then you can now start to expand and start to ask the question, which is, so what is possible, right? So if this is possible, then what else is possible? And you start to realize that you have an infinite potential, right? There's no limit to what we can be, do, or have. So the following episodes of this podcast is all about, I'll be sharing my truths on different subjects and different topics about our life experience and all the information that has helped me to grow up to this moment, and all the information that I've learned from my parallel lives as well. So these are all the information that I'll be sharing and I'll be discussing in further episodes. And if you'd like me to discuss anything in particular, you can also type it in the chat box as well, and let's all grow as a community. So we have a Discord server where we get to talk about skill sets when it comes to investing. I'm an investment mentor and I teach people how to invest, how to become profitable investors. And we discuss mindset as well. We have a mindset community. We also have an NFT community, right? because I have an ongoing NFT project and you can get to learn more about that as well. And then we also have a gaming community where we have fun, because I love playing a lot, and I believe life is all about having fun. You know, everything is play, and when you start to see work as play, then everything becomes fun, right? So if you'd like to join our Discord server, kindly comment in the chat box below, and then I'll send you the link. I can't drop the link because it expires every 7 days, so I can't attach it to the description. It won't be useful. But then once you drop a comment, I'll get it and I'll send it to you, and you can join our Discord server. So that's it for this particular episode. I'm grateful that you had to listen up to this point. The rest of the episodes will be at least less than 20 minutes long, so it's a fairly it's a fair amount of your time, and I'm grateful for the amount of value and the amount of growth that you will see from this. So thank you so much for deciding to tune in to this particular journey, and I'm grateful for your support. You know, clicking the view button is all the support that I need, and I'm so grateful for that. So thank you so much. See you on the next episode, and remember to subscribe so that you get notifications on the next videos. Thank you.